There are many conspiracy theories referring to the assassination of John F. Kennedy. One of the biggest theories is that Lyndon B. Johnson plotted the assassination. Lyndon B. Johnson was born in Stonewall, Texas in a small farmhouse, where he then lived a modest living. From there, he then joined the Navy in 1941 during World War II, and then after the war, he entered the Senate. During his political career, he was famously known for the Johnson treatment.
Treatment could last 10 minutes or for 4 hours. It came enveloping its target at the Johnson Ranch swimming pool, in one of the Johnson's offices, in the Senate cloakroom, on the floor of the Senate itself, wherever Johnson might find a fellow senator within his reach. Its tone could be supplication, accusation, exuberance, scorn, tears, complaint, and the hint of threat. It was all of these together. It ran a gamut of human emotions. Its velocity was breathtaking, and it was all in one direction. Interjections from the target were rare. Johnson anticipated them before they could be spoken. He moved in close, his face a scant millimeter from his target, his eyes widening and narrowing, his eyebrows rising and falling. From his pockets poured clippings, memos, statistics, mimicry, humor, and the genius of analogy made the treatment an almost hypnotic experience and rendered the target stunned and helpless.
And as such, became the Senate Majority Whip. Eventually, after several years with the Senate, he ran for the 1960 presidential election. However, his efforts were short-lived when he lost the primary. Yet, JFK decided he needed the support of the Southern senators. Some theorists believe Johnson short-armed or blackmailed the Kennedys into making him vice president candidate. When JFK won the presidential election, Johnson saw the opportunity to use his power as he saw fit as the vice president of the U.S. It's a well-known fact that the Kennedys and Johnson didn't get along during their time together. The reason? Johnson was beginning to blackmail the Kennedy administration. At first, Johnson tried blackmailing Kennedy through information. Primarily, his information on the mistresses that Kennedy had acquired over the years, including the famous Marilyn Monroe, in order to further shake his power. Secondly, he then tried to blame the Kennedy administration for many of the failures in the attempts to take down Fidel Castro's regime in Cuba. However, the Kennedys did not react how he thought they would, and they politically sidelined him for the majority of their time as the administration. So he decided to get even. The day before the fateful Dallas assassination, Madeline Brown, a mistress of Lyndon B. Johnson, reported that Johnson had met earlier in Dallas with the city's highest-ranking criminal tycoons and mob kingpins. No one knows what co-inspired in the meeting. He returned to his mistress later and supposedly told her a certain line she witnessed.
"The Kennedys won't embarrass me ever again."
This points to the smoking gun, the idea that Johnson would kill JFK for at least a factor of political power, if not for revenge. Personal, may be so. Political, no doubt. But this may not have been the first time he had done so. Early on, at the beginning of his vice presidential campaign, his sister, Josepha Johnson, died of a brain hemorrhage on the Christmas of that year. The theory was that Johnson had her killed. The reason? His sister had a long history of drug and alcohol abuse, along with several sordid affairs. Having her killed, thus out of the way, gave Johnson a respite from potential future political backlash as the vice president. So he did it again, this time with the Kennedys. Before his Dallas mob meeting, Johnson used his contacts to arrange for Lee Harvey Oswald to get a job at the Texas School Book Depository 5 weeks earlier. The day after Johnson's meeting, the fateful shots rang. John F. Kennedy was dead, killed by Oswald's hands. But to ensure Kennedy's death, Johnson had a second gunman hiding at the grassy knoll. After Oswald succeeded, Johnson then used his mob connections to have Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner in the Dallas area, kill Oswald, thus silencing the killer. In the end, JFK was dead, assassinated by a lone gunman, supposedly, and Johnson was now in the seat of power as the new president of the U.S. But Johnson didn't count on Jack Ruby talking. Jack Ruby would then be quoted saying, "The person responsible for the death of our beloved president is a very high-up individual, a person who now sits in the chair of power. That man in the chair is President Johnson." As the nation reeled from their loss of their beloved president, the questions began to circulate. Johnson had to put the questions to rest. He created the Warren Commission, headed by his political allies, to prove that Oswald was acted alone. But for all his efforts, Johnson couldn't stop the wheels of conspiracy from turning. And so we bring it to today, that Johnson had his influence and schemes written all over the Kennedy assassination. And personally, I hope that you have been enlightened by this information, but it truly falls to you